So the question is not how do I use AI, the question is how do I think with AI? We define this sort of resistance, I define it as shadow AI. That means that in reality, everybody in companies is using AI, but they are not doing openly. We need to show AI. So we need to make sure that people take pride. To me, the biggest mistake, as I said, is to treat AI as a software and therefore to focus on technology before psychology. We need to put this telescope and look at the sky. So we need to use AI to elaborate new ideas. AI has to be considered as a cognitive partner. It's like sort of a mental gym session, training with AI, using AI every day, and get smarter, faster, more prepared to face any kind of challenge. You perform 40% better and 25% faster. System Zero is my synthetic inner voice. This inner voice can now be more than just a voice in a monologue, it will be an inner dialogue. Our brain is still the one that is leading an AI discovery workshop where I gather the top leader of the organization. So we build together very simple AI agents to start.
Welcome to the Future Proof Leaders Podcast. Today's guest is Giovanni Giaminola, author of The Augmented Manager. Giovanni has helped 6 to 7 figure visionary entrepreneurs scale their businesses using AI as a mindset shift, not just a tool. With years of experience leading a $1 billion pharmaceutical company and advising top entrepreneurs, Giovanni is here to show us how AI driven leadership can unlock exponential growth and give you the freedom you're looking for. Giovanni, welcome to the show. Let's dive in.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Wonderful to have you. So, Giovanni, most visionary entrepreneurs think AI is just another tool, but you say it's something bigger, a mindset shift that transforms everything. Why is this mindset shift the missing piece that holds them back from scaling and achieving freedom?
You said it right, Justin, because I've been working as a manager and a CEO for the past 25 years in various companies, multinational companies, entrepreneurial companies, and I've been led very important and wide IT transformation project. So I'm pretty much deep knowledge of what it means to turn an organization and transform it through digital innovation. Well, let me tell you something. IT, it's really the key lever to make such transformation, but not in case of AI. AI is a completely different ballgame here because AI is not just a tool as such, but AI is something that is really requires something much more than a technical mindset. So AI in reality has to be considered as a cognitive partner. So the question is not how do I use AI? The question is how do I think with AI? So the largest organization, the moment that are struggling to introduce AI in their process, in their organization, it is because they have dealt with AI as a software to install and not as an augmentation of our cognitive capabilities.
Yes, you put it so profoundly. And I know that firsthand as well, like for me, dealing with 6 to 7 figure entrepreneurs, we do have encounter and face this problem of like we have so many tools and I'm confused. How would I implement AI or even how to adopt? So it's good that you've given me that clarity at the beginning because now we're going to talk about a little bit more of how can you become a human centric leader in the AI first world. And probably let's dive into much more of a leadership mindset shift because a lot of leaders right now, as you said, the belief system and maybe the way they think about things or how they can use AI in their business may not be something that they can apply right away. So having the mindset that you're introducing right now is very valuable for our audiences, and not only for our audiences limited, and also your audiences as well. So if we're going to talk about leadership mindset shift, embracing AI as a leadership responsibility for visionaries looking to scale, maybe in your experience, like what belief held you back from scaling with AI, and how did you overcome it?
Absolutely. And thank you for this question because as I'm working as an AI advisor in different boardroom for various top leaders, C executive, the first things that I think is imperative that we realize is that AI is not, as I said, a software to install. Rather than you have to consider it a sort of muscle to train, you know. So we need to have leaders and owners and board members that are really AI curious and not, let's say, AI cautious, because we need to understand that we are entering an age where our cognitive capabilities are challenged. Recently, we have heard that, for example, newest model in OpenAI, Gemini, Claude, and so on, they all won the gold medal in the mathematics Olympics. Just like in the 1997 when Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue, and we understood that there would have been no chance anymore for a human being to beat a computer in chess. Today, we are understanding that this is going to be the same in math, for example. And soon, this will be the same in other fields of expertise where there is a strong requirement of cognition. So, the real point here is that we need to understand that this exponential curve that is we are driving all along in this period, which is, by the way, to me very exciting, will be actually leading us to a team, and therefore we require a leadership team that integrates AI with humans. And this is the biggest challenge that leaders have, because again, there are some cases where I noted that boardroom have delegated to the IT department the introduction of AI. This is something that you cannot delegate, of course. This is something that you have to drive personally. So the leadership team has to evaluate how much AI will impact vision, mission, and values of the company, and therefore start rethink those important elements and transfer them to the organization with a clear overview of how the organization should move on and embrace AI in a profitable way and in a way that people don't feel put aside, but instead involved in the transformation process.
Yes, it's very critical to be someone who is leading. So it's like, in other words, if you're creating a new project or tools that you wanted to implement for the business, you have to drive it as a leader and set an example, right, for your organization to really make it work. Because if you're just going to throw it to them, probably, do you think there are resistance as well in terms of implementing AI or maybe adopting?
Totally. And the resistance is actually much more subtle than what you think. So basically, we define this sort of resistance, I define it as shadow AI. That means that in reality, in companies, everybody is using AI, but they are not doing openly. They are working with AI, they are creating nice documents, nice summary, nice presentation, but they don't share that. They actually keep that hidden because they are afraid that to show their work now as being so much influenced by AI. So the biggest fear to me is that people feel to be made irrelevant because they think, okay, I've produced this fantastic presentation with AI, so what am I here to do at the end? So this creates this sort of shadow AI. And my view and my philosophy is No, it's the opposite. We need to show AI. So we need to make sure that people take pride to create such a complete analysis, such very looking forward documents, very nice analysis, and the people therefore should embrace it and share it, because the risk of
Mm.
shadow AI, it's very high. The risk is that people not only don't share their findings, and so we don't really get the best out of it, but they start using tools that are not authorized, let's say, or foreseen in the governance system of the company. It's not clear these tools, how they are managed, where the information are taken from. So it's a win-win situation if we go for the show AI, and lose-lose if we go for the shadow AI. Yeah, I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Yes, I fully understand. So shadow AI is like some sort of an counterintuitive approach where a lot of, I would say, employees or people in the organization who are using AI, but they're doing it secretly. They have another hesitation because they're worried their job will be at risk, right? And I think that's the biggest fear of if you're a part of an organization. And I'm actually kind of curious about the opposite, the people who are actually not adopting AI because they have a different, probably, fear. So I'm not sure if you have also discovered this area where they're not using AI, they're afraid to learn AI because they're also scared. It's similar fear, but different approach. If you have this kind of resistance, how would you overcome that with your team?
I see your point, and in fact, there is such a group of people. In reality, these people, anyway, you dig into it, and this is something I did openly with them. At the end, you realize that these people, anyway, they use AI maybe at home to help their kids to do homework or to check for information. So in reality, the fact that there are hundreds of millions of people that are switching from Google to AI and being this DeepSeek, Perplexity, ChatGPT, what have you. The reality is that AI is a source of information, but maybe still there is a group of people that are resistant in companies because they like to do it the old way. And there is a particular interesting example, especially in the healthcare system, where at the beginning, I remember last year, that the typical approach in introducing AI to radiology, for example, was don't worry, you will not be replaced by AI, but you will be replaced by radiologists who use AI. And this was sort of a mantra. But then the statistics showed something very peculiar. That is, that there is a big amount of radiologists that perform with AI, that perform worse than AI alone. And the analysis basically showed that there is a big human component here, so that a 20, 30 years experienced radiologist in front of a scan, whatever, radiology, he tends to impose his diagnosis and his experience of 20 years, and he tends to not listen to the outcome of AI, which at the end has been trained with millions and millions and millions of radiology. So the point here, it's again, it's a human, it's a change management. So doctors still don't trust, let's say, too much, or they feel threat by the advancement of AI, and so they keep pushing their own view and their own diagnosis instead of embracing it. And this at the end is detrimental for the end user, for the patient, because we don't get the best outcome ever. So again, it's a really tough job that we have in this era, which is to really accept AI as a companion and not as an antagonist, not as a competitor, but we really need to embrace it in a way that we are augmented, as we said before.
Yes, it's a wishful thinking to get everyone to be on board on the ship. It takes time. And as you said, there's always resistance, even in healthcare. So, Giovanni, maybe if I were to ask you, like, what's the first mindset shift as a visionary entrepreneur need to make to really get AI adoption and scaling very successfully?
Yeah. So the first practical, because at the end, what I really care of is not just ideal models, but practical impact on the daily life of a business. And to me, and this is also my personal experience, is that I, for example, talk to my AI every day, and I don't like to
Mm,
use the word prompt and prompting because it sounds very technical engineering. Prefer to say talk because at the end, what I do every morning, for example, driving to work and so on, is that if I have some ideas in my mind, I activate the voice mode so I can drive safely, and I can talk to AI in order to rehearse ideas, stress test decision, explore different perspectives. It's like sort of a mental gym session, right? So if you approach this as a leader and you take it personally. So in some cases, I really compare this to like making a diet or going to gym, for example, physically, because you need to have some sort of disciplines. You need to take it seriously and do it with a sort of routines in certain hours. And if you go to gym in this way, and if you have a good healthy nutrition, let's say, plan for you, of course you have some sacrifice to do, some you have to renounce to some stuff, but at the end you will be slimmer, healthier, and therefore more ready to win competition. The same is the AI. In leaders, they are the one that they should start first, training with AI, using AI every day, and get smarter, faster, more prepared to face any kind of challenge. And this will give them a sort of hedge competition compared to those who are not doing it yet. Because at the end, even studies from Harvard Business and other business school, they have proven that once you have this integration between human and AI in this cognitive relation, you perform 40% better and 25% faster. So there is no game here. You have to do it. So if everybody is starting being diet, taking a diet and start to get slim and fit, you cannot afford to remain the one who is, fat and slow in movement. So everybody need to embrace this transformation.
yes, exactly, exactly. It's beautiful in what you just shared because it's very practical. You're talking to the AI, you're driving your car. It's like a gym session for your brain to really get out the ideas out of you. In other words, sometimes in the old ways, it takes years to get great ideas. But now because of AI, like as a visionary with so many ideas, you can definitely help. I mean, you can use AI to help you. In other words, it's not like stealing your thunder or some way. It's really helping you, amplify you with your mind, with your potential, and there's so much more that it can even do, right?
Absolutely. Most of the time, I have the feeling that AI is used backwards, meaning that it's just like to have a telescope, and we use the telescope to look a piece of paper on the ground, right? So, and this is when you use AI to make summaries, create small text out of huge books, and so on. So, okay, this is a good, interesting functionality, but this is so limiting. So we need to put this telescope and look in the sky. So we need to use AI to elaborate new ideas, make new connection, find new potential opportunities. And this is something that we can only do exactly if we do this step. This we need this click in our mind, and we need to change the approach we embrace AI in this regard.
Yeah, definitely. I truly agree. Truly agree. And we need to embrace AI. And of course, a lot of people, they have their existing beliefs, which may take a while, but hopefully they will also be inspired to embrace AI. So I know that there's a lot of resistance out there, Giovanni, and I'm just curious from your perspective, like if you're going to give a recommendation to an entrepreneur, how to overcome resistance with AI to lead their teams through this change. What was your approach?
Yeah. So to me, the biggest mistake, as I said, is to treat AI as a software and therefore to focus on technology before psychology. So it's really about people now. It's before we talk about cognition, before we talk about chatbots, before we talk about prompting. It's really the challenge here is to avoid that we have closed mindset. So we need to start the job in terms of giving perspective to people, aligning the organization, and collaborate with people, especially with those they feel that they are not touched by the transformation, they are not involved in the AI process. You need to create teams that work together in order to ignite enthusiasm in this transformation. It's so easy. I've seen so many cases, also very good people, very talented people, even young people that they are not much prone, not really eager to take the advantage, to really improve themselves, empower themselves with AI, and therefore we need to really create this atmosphere of understanding, of clarity, of collaboration. And here again, it's a matter of leadership because leaders need to show the way and need to make sure that people come along and follow their guidelines because we are in an unprecedented era where for sure there will be the winner and the loser as every transformation era has created. We will have for sure lots of difficulties in overcoming this phase if we don't embrace the new opportunities we have. So companies that want to thrive, they want to survive and thrive, they need to tackle this problem immediately. So the first and foremost important problem to tackle is the organization and the mindset and the culture and the people way before introducing tools that at the end if they don't find a fertile ground, they will be left unattended and there will be lots of resistance in which will also waste time to the company which they don't have because the race is out there and we need to go fast.
Yes. Those are four key things that organization, people, and the mindset, and as well as you mentioned about leadership. So that is really a key here to, and nobody talks about this too much. They just talk about the tools, what the tools can do, what problems it could solve, but never really going deep into the, I would say, the backstage of any business. These things are actually really going on, is the reality. And thank you for bringing that up here in this podcast, this episode. So, Giovanni, that's a very interesting start. And we're going to go something more about you, your book, your own written ideas, which is in the System Zero. And I would like to really go deep into it and talk about, like, because System Zero was, it was stated, it's a training of the mind for AI augmented leadership. So maybe we're going to have a core focus of cognitive augmentation, leadership mental fitness, which you roughly just mentioned earlier, and real performance leverage for visionary entrepreneurs. We're going to start with, how does AI as System Zero change the way visionary entrepreneurs should think about business strategy?
Absolutely. And thank you for this question because System Zero, and I'm very proud of this concept, has been developed by a researcher here in Milan at Università Cattolica. And In this neuroscience team, basically they have identified System Zero as a complement between System One, which represents our intuitive brain, which act very fast and generate immediate response, compared to the System 2, which is our logical and more rational brain. So it's a part of the brain that takes time to elaborate concept and reason on those concepts. So Kahneman, System 1 and System 2 has been basically in this field a very consolidated model to represent our brain and some implication the way we think and we act. Now, the researcher have identified the fact that when we interact with AI, we basically work with a system zero. That's what they called it. So we work with a cognitive extension of our mind that works together with system one and system two. Because in a way, when you interact with ChatGPT, you might have some fast intuitive idea. In other case, you might have some longer, complex reasoning process to discuss with, and and system zero basically work with system one and system two, but at the end it adds something, which is the contribution of the artificial intelligence. So why is it important to understand that? Because we are in the age where even our neurological path of, so therefore the way we think will be impacted, and we have to be aware of that, because this will imply that we have a transformation of our thinking, and therefore as a leader we start to understand that we are in the verge of a sort of voluntary revolution. So, the evolution of the species, the one that Charles Darwin discovered, the evolution of the species has been characterized by the law called survival of the fittest. So basically, our bodies, life has evolved, us as mammals, but also all vegetation and so on, according to the challenge that the nature has posed us. But in this very peculiar moment, we are in front of a sort of evolution of our brain, but it's more on voluntary basis, because we can accept to be enhanced, to be augmented with System Zero, and try to realize that our way of thinking will be impacted by that in a way that sort of will overcome the, let's say, intellectual cognitive relation, and will become more and more a sort of physical habits. Just like when you are so much used to use the GPS to drive your car, at the end your brain is so much connected to the GPS that you will use it to drive even when you don't really need extra traffic information or indication, but it's you are used to it. And of course, just with this parallel, of course, you need anyway to make sure that the GPS navigator, it doesn't make any mistakes and it brings you in danger. So this is, I think, it's a good representation of what is happening by those who are using AI in a system zero setup. So they become part of it, and therefore they can rely strongly on it to develop ideas and discuss topics. But at the end, our brain is still the one that is leading, and therefore we still have to be aware and sure that we are not making mistakes like those you can make if you follow too strictly a GPS navigation system that at the end can also take you to some wrong roads or blocked roads or other situation. So this is the first real step that the leader in the organization have to realize on themselves in order to promote this process, this transformation in their organization.
Yeah, exactly. Like GPS, when it was just new, like we are still adopting, and now we're kind of dependent of using it, even if it's just a nearby place, right? We're just gonna use the voice. So maybe Giovanni, just to kind of simplify System Zero in just one phrase, how would you say it?
Yeah. So the technical phrase will be System Zero is my cognitive extension. The more, let's say, managerial or human phrase to me is that System Zero is my synthetic inner voice that help me to discuss and identify new ideas. As I said, stress test decision, explore perspective. So basically, most of the time we are dealing with ourselves in front of a problem, a challenge, and we have an internal thinking, a sort of internal monologue. And this happens in business, but also in real life. So you have this inner voice you deal with. Well, this is the point. This inner voice can now be more than just a voice in a monologue. It will be an inner dialogue because that we are comparing our thoughts even deep inside with AI. So this is the process.
Yes, yes, that's very, very simple and clear for anyone at different levels, which it will be much easier to understand. And I'm curious about your thoughts too, because I don't know. I've noticed that every user that uses AI would have different results. They would probably talk and have different results. So, would this be in relation with System Zero as well, or System One and Two? What's your opinion on those?
Yeah, exactly. You said it right because at the end, to relate with AI, with System Zero, you need to activate System One and System Two. So this is again, we go back again to the sort of prompting approach. So prompting at the end means how do we structure our queries? How do we structure our question? How do we pretend to get good response from System Zero? So and here is System One and System Two. They have to work together and describe and help System Zero to understand the situation you're dealing with so it can give you the best response. And therefore, you need to you train for that. So you need to understand how and where System Zero is coming from, because at the end, when we, technically speaking, we deal with this large language model, this LLM, which is the technology base of the System Zero infrastructure, you are dealing with the large corpus of information that are already available worldwide between websites, books, chats, social networks, what have you. So in a such vast amount of information and in billions, if not trillions, of connection between topics, words, and probabilities. So, of course, when you ask a question to System Zero, you are really throwing this question in a universe of content. So, if you are not really willing to focus your question in what it really matters, discussing what is the context, reducing the amount of, let's say, realm of information that you are targeting. But if you help the LLM to really go straight in those areas of knowledge that you are after, then of course you get better response. It's just like to have a, so imagine to have a huge library and the librarian is a blind guy that can only check books by sort of touching them and trying to find them. So in this vast amount of many stories, many libraries, many books. So and he has to find the book you are looking for. So if you tell him go to the third floor, third shelf left, up right corner, so he will be able to find the book you are looking for. But if you just tell me, give me something, tell me something about sports, okay? So of course you can get any kind of answers.
The more skilled you are, the more you're also being trained, probably based from experience too. Like you're using LLM for quite a long time and you have experiences, challenges, you will learn along the way, and that would improve the way you talk. As what you said, it's not prompting, it's talking to the LLM or AI. So great way of visualizing, giving us the visual on how this talking to AI would be more effective, especially from the user itself. I were to ask you, like, what are the daily habits to help entrepreneurs stay mentally agile and by using AI to grow their business?
That's absolutely a priority to stay mentally agile. As I told you, the opportunity here is to evolve and amplify the impact of a manager by adopting AI and, as you said before, by asking the right question in a structured way. Actually, what I'm really enjoyed a lot to do in my book is to find a way to apply common methodology. For example, I can mention lean manufacturing in terms of operation, spin selling in terms of sales, PDCA in terms of quality, and so on. So consolidated modeled system that help organization and that have helped organization in the history of the last 20, 30 years to face problem, to organize tasks, to identify problems and solve them, and so on. So AI transformed those models into, this time I will use the word prompt, so into a structured approach to those topics using these methodologies. So that's why I see it as an agile opportunity for leader, for entrepreneur, because if there is a problem to face, by running this methodology in a prompt in AI, you have a great support. It's a great relief in the organization in order to go through a structured approach and consolidated approach in order to solve a problem or find a new solution or generate new ideas and so on. So a very simple example, normally companies need to, during a strategic process, need to create their SWOT analysis. So you have strengths, weakness, the threats, opportunities. So, and of course, you can do it by gathering your co-workers in a room, prepare a flip chart, and start to create this kind of engagement and start writing words on the flip chart. So, but if we want to be more agile, more effective as a leader, of course, we can use AI in order to pre-work the SWOT analysis and already advance in the evaluation of these elements so that when you are in the meeting and you are still gathering your people, because you still are leading people, so you still need to have physical relation, interaction, human interaction with them. But you have prepared this SWOT analysis together with AI, so you are here a much more effective moderator of discussion. In the discussion, you have much more insights to share, and I experimented on myself. The discussion will be much more rich, full of ideas, and everybody will benefit of a pre-prepared, pre-organized session like the one I described.
Yes, it definitely it would make the impression, the organization, the dynamics of what you're working much more efficient, productive moving forward. And if let's say we're talking about, like you mentioned this earlier, like some, it could be entrepreneurs, it could be the part of the programs or the organizations, but if we're talking specifically to entrepreneurs themselves, like why do entrepreneurs limit AI to such simple tasks? And what's the real potential of AI for scaling businesses? Because as you mentioned, like there's a use, their focus is to use AI to this X task, but these are just simple tasks, and probably these are not really the real potential or the potential that could maximize how AI could scale businesses.
Yeah, again, this limitation is again related to mindset. Let's say 80% is mindset, 20% might be technology. And what I mean for that is that in reality, the expectation on technology in terms of the expectation of the responses of AI is so high that when you are approaching this topic as a newbie and you have no previous knowledge and maybe you don't have even been involved in large transformation process, reorganization process, or IT implementation process. So you basically expecting setting your expectation very very high to what AI is and what can do. So the problem is, first of all, that AI is not everything, but we have to. This AI is here since 1950, and in these 70 years, we know that there is a AI, which is the field of machine learning, which has been used to, for example, predict sales rather than understand pattern recognition among huge amount of data, uh, where you have customer behaviors, customer response, and so on. So all this the part of AI, it's something that you don't find, for example, in ChatGPT or DeepSeek. This is something that has been developed into software, dedicated software, vertical software, ERP software that have been introduced in company since years. But this is not the only thing you can do. Of course, you can use machine learning for that. You can use a neural network, for example. And so here we are talking about other application and other approach to AI in order to, for example, as we mentioned before, to support in the healthcare system the diagnostic of images, or of course you can use this type of technology for agriculture, for space exploration, and so on. And then you have generative AI, which is the latest type of declination of AI that we have been exposed to since the rise of ChatGPT. And here we have the creation of new content, all the video and audio capability, the marketing, and so on. So there is not an AI that fits all at the moment, even if the big ambition of all the provider is moving toward a so-called general intelligence, so that we don't need to go through different type of, let me say, AI and different type of tools, but to they are aiming for a sort of so complete AI that this AI will be able to perform any kind of stuff, any kind of task, any kind of challenge. But at the moment, that's not the case. So we need to have this awareness, and therefore, in the projects, when we start projects, we need to set the expectation correctly. Otherwise, also this part will create frustration in the team and in the organization.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. So it's really to have that clarity for the organization to scale. And for us to start exploring that idea is to have that goal in mind, which all the organization will know and also will agree with the idea. So thank you for sharing that. And let's talk about a little bit more into, if we're going to talk about building an AI ready business. So Giovanni, let's focus a little bit more about business transformation, culture shifts, AI integration roadmap for visionaries, entrepreneurs for exponential growth. Because at the end of the day, most of the entrepreneurs, they want to use AI because they want to grow their business to scale. So let's talk about, like, what's the biggest mistake a visionary entrepreneur or visionary entrepreneurs make when implementing AI, and how can they avoid that mistake?
That's a very important question, and thank you for that, because I've been involved in many projects that, in fact, they have been partially abrupted because of those mistakes. So, and the first biggest mistake, again and again, I stress it one more time, is the fact that the project has been considered as an IT project and then delegated to the I department, and not involving HR, not involving the cultural change and cultural mindset that needs to be established. The second biggest mistake that I have noticed is that this project, they don't start with use cases that really matters to people, but they start with the ambition to sort of fill it in different type of promises in terms of completion of tasks and so on. But in reality, we have to work from the very beginning at the necessity, at the needs of the people, at what really matters in the organization. And this saves times, reduce frustration, helps really people to shine because they have achieved something that they were in need of. And so they don't fight to do new things, but they actually achieve to do their job in a better and faster way. So the biggest recommendation is, let's not start with big strategic transformation and big announcement, and so this will just scare people, create too much expectation, and in reality create lots of resistance. But my strong recommendation, which comes from the ground of my expertise, is we need to start small. We need to be meaningful, and for meaningful mean that we need to scale the confidence of people. We don't really need to involve from the very beginning technical guys that speak a language that people don't even understand, and they start to exactly use these words: prompting, LLM, parameters, agents, and so on. And this will create again a sort of a distance, a resistance, and so on. But we need to take these projects and put it in the hand of the people, and that they feel part of the project and see as part of the solution of their daily challenge.
Yeah, so culture and really breaking it down into a much more acceptable, digestible, smaller workflows, I guess, if that's how we could word it, so that we would have less resistance and adaptation will be much more effective. So if that's what we're going to focus on and that's what we're going to avoid as well, like what's the first step a visionary entrepreneur should take to set up AI for growth and freedom? Like as you mentioned earlier, like it has to be like small steps, but to make it much more clearer, how would you set the first step for the entrepreneur itself?
Yeah. So normally, what I do personally in my introduction of the augmented manager process, in my experience, I normally start with what I call an AI discovery workshop. And this AI discovery, it's a moment where I gather the top leader of the organization, starting from the board member, CEO, and then CFO, and so on. So the real decision maker. And with this AI discovery approach, we basically go through all major AI opportunities that are now available. And so in this moment, normally the leadership team start to realize the huge potential you have in all areas, from customer service to product development, from finance to logistics. And they really understand the magnitude of the impact of the so-called agentic AI, because this is another topic that needs to be discussed upfront. We have been discussing about conversational AI and System Zero, which is the biggest part of the revolution. But now with the agentic AI, you have AI solutions that not just are able to discuss and evaluate topics, but they actually do topics, they do action, they will take action and make things happen. So when we give to agents the possibility to enter in our system, book our accounts, do some payments, process some information, and so on, then when we start this delegation part, then really we start to create a definite transformation of the company. So that's why after the so-called AI discovery, normally I organize the so-called boot camps in the different organization of the company. So we have the sales team together rather than the HR team or the finance team, just to give you an example. And we build together very simple AI agents to start the process of change, of transformation, but also of automation, together with the tools available, which nowadays are so user friendly that you don't need to have deep technical knowledge, not at all. So the team together in this bootcamp not only experiment a better connection with System Zero, with the discussion and with the ability to interact with AI, but also start delegating small tasks. And this is where really the teams understand that they have a new cognitive teammate in their team, that when you do something, you cannot anymore have the luxury to keep AI out of the table, because AI not only will give you ideas, but also we will do stuff, we will do part of your job. And therefore all members will benefit from this interaction.
Yeah, that's very profound. And because, as you said, like the collective, the all the people or the departments, if they're involved, they can see the vision of the leader, and they have the clarity on what is the direction. And also, and as we borrow your answer about taking the first small step for you to adopt the AI. So that is very profound to combine those two. And so, Giovanni, if we're going to talk about AI, like how the transformation before and now, so how can AI transform a business in a way that wasn't possible before?
Well, it's plenty of examples. So we can mention, if we want to be spot on what is happening right now, the fact that there are companies made of 2 3 people that are very rapidly reaching $1 million turnover, because they are able to organize and manage the entire job together with AI. But and this is one case. So in this we have to keep in mind this one case. If we are in existing company that has been successful till now, for example, based on traditional process, and now needs to go through this transformation, because these other new that are already AI native are designed from the ground in a more agile way, because they are already exactly AI capable. So we need to face this in within organizations that are already consolidated. So here you have two options that I see. One option is to create a sort of AI team, as a company in the company, so that it starts to you sort of create a sort of new business unit that it's completely AI driven, AI design, and you start to generate the future of your company and slowly move the old part into the new part, so that you are completely free to start sort of from scratch, basically. And this is probably the boldest move you can do, but in a way it's also a move that give total freedom to the AI unit to delve into topics and to find solution. The other move, which is it's also bold but requires a completely different approach, is really to transform the existing one, and transforming the existing one and make sure, for example, if we are used to put our products on our e-commerce website, nowadays this activity is done by some people that research about the product, the characteristics, then they develop the promotional part, the graphics, the image, and then there is someone that goes into the website to do the upload and is ensure that the data is there up and running. Someone else will prepare the pricing structure, create discounts and bonuses for those who purchase our product in a specific moment where we have a special offer. All this stuff can now be completely transformed with AI. So with the combination of AI agents. So we can immediately generate all the content that need to upload it. We need to generate the graphics, the charts. We can have our agents that not only upload the price, but actually keep monitor the price of the competitors and automatically update the price compared to how the market is perceiving our competition, and therefore what the consumer are willing to pay for that specific product. And so, for example, you can have dynamic pricing even for thousands and thousands of products, something that can be done automatically by AI and the agents. So something that is been impossible since, let's say, 1 year ago. So you can do it, but for sure it be mentally will be easy if you create a unit that does that from scratch, then move the existing organization and make sure that they start working in order to benefit of this innovation and introduce them in replacement of the existing project.
We're up to the closing. And how we're going to close this is we're going to talk about quick questions, one word answers. We're going to have 5 questions. Are you
Ready?
ready? All right, nice. So, what's one word that defines leadership for visionary entrepreneurs in an AI driven world?
Wow, this is a very good question. The one word I would use in this moment is curiosity. We are in such a changing world that if you are not open minded and curious, you need to stay curious as never before, because we are in front of lots of opportunity, but that you have to grasp and to understand. So I would say curiosity is the word for me.
Curiosity. Beautiful. So, in one word, what's the biggest challenge for visionary entrepreneurs when adopting AI?
This is culture and people. At the moment, as I mentioned, we have to put people. I said psychology before technology. This is we have to put it in front of our limits, our mindset, our comfort zone. We need to really find a way to break the resistance in our organization and transform everybody in AI enthusiasts so we can do this transformation as fast as possible.
Yes, mindset. Mindset and culture, right? The biggest challenge. So, if you could give one piece of advice to a visionary entrepreneur looking to scale with AI, what would it be?
It would be to identify a lab, and for lab I mean it could be a university, a research center, anyway, an area where that could also be created inside the company, where there is lots of experimentation, where there is the possibility to test different type of solution, because there is an continuous update, and this is something good for, let's say, the development of the system, but it's pretty bad for companies need to have stable solution. They and now at the moment AI it's a little bit of a moving target, and so visionary leader that want to embrace AI, they have difficulties to choose one direction, one product, one solution. So they need to tie their expectation together with this environment. And therefore, I would strongly suggest to attend or be part of university research center, or even there are many suppliers that are organizing this regular update and share continuously. We need to create a sort of continuous demonstration process of all the new process, the new solution that are being used, and otherwise the big risk is that companies invest in something that is obsolete 3 months later, and so they again make
Hmm,
some failure in this regard.
exactly. You're on point on that. So, the next would be what's one habit that helps you stay focused and productive as a visionary entrepreneur?
In my personal experience, my habit is to wake up very early in the morning and have my gym and nutrition process kind of very well scheduled, so that I'm very focused and lucid, and I can start my AI session before starting the day, where I recap all the challenge of yesterday and the challenge of today, and I keep being prepared in a very stable, let's say, balance between my body, my mind, and of course my System Zero companion.
Beautiful. Awesome. So, in one word, what's the future of AI for visionary entrepreneurs?
It is general AI, so we have to start cultivating the idea that AI will not only take the leadership in the cognitive field of mathematics, but also in other fields, mainly in scientific fields, quantity fields. So but we know that there are sort of nine way of intelligence, at least according to Garden. There is the emotional intelligence, social intelligence, musical intelligence, environmental intelligence. So for sure, the logical and mathematical intelligence, that special part will be taken over. So that's why I say we will be forced to be more human, because we will develop more our intuitive intelligence and social intelligence, thanks to the fact that the cognitive, let's say the mathematical and the logical one, will be heavily taken over by AI. So we need to take this into consideration and be prepared for that, because we need to have much more empathic leader, much more dedicated to the development of the relation, the creativity, all these kind of processes that sometimes are so much time consuming activity that are left as a sort of side effects of all the rest. But this we have to be prepared as leader to this big shift. So we will take care more of our employee, we will take more of the relation with our customer, we will have more physical interaction, physical meetings, a gathering, create more bonding with inside and outside the company, because we can delegate part of our brain activity to System Zero.
So, Giovanni, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today.
Excellent. Thanks to Justin for having me here. It was a great pleasure talking to you.
Yes. And Giovanni, I think for the closing remarks, maybe you could also share what's the one thing they should take away from today's conversation. Start leveraging AI and unlocking business true potential.
So after this podcast, leaders should immediately go back into their boardroom or leadership team and start the transformation process with the people. So that's it's imperative that we start to understand today that we need to change for the coming months and years. So I shoot out very loud, because this is the moment where we lose time in the transformation process. So or people need to start with the strategy, the vision, the mission, and really with the help of eventual external support, but they need to understand how AI should be introduced in the organization from a cultural perspective, technical perspective. The entire governance need to be set up, ensure that we move from shadow AI to show AI, and start the transformation process.
All right. Beautiful call to action. After this episode, go straight and plan and strategize and implement how to adopt AI for the organization, not only for the business, for you, and also for the people. So, if you enjoyed today's episode and you want to learn more, don't forget to check out Giovanni's book, The Augmented Manager, and connect with him on LinkedIn. We'll include all the links in the show notes below. As always, thank you for listening to Future Proof Leaders podcast. Stay tuned for more insights on how to scale your business and lead with AI. And I'll see you on my next episode.